Welcome back to the Professional Lovers Channel. I'm Al.
And I'm Patty, and we're the Professional Lovers. Yes. And we've been married 27 years. Our subscribers know, but if you're new, you don't know that. And through that time, we have facilitated relationships for people engaged, serious, married. We don't call ourselves counselors, but facilitators.
Yes.
We enjoy seeing other people in great relationships.
True.
Because we feel like we've been blessed to have a great relationship. And so when you're happy, you want other people to be happy. True. And so your being here then means that you're interested in hearing our take on relationship issues as they come through Married at First Sight. You're probably a Married at First Sight fan. I've been watching it since the beginning. So I'm a fan of relationships. And I always found Married at First Sight to be intriguing. So we decided to talk about relationships through the lens of Married at First Sight.
True.
Because they give us a lot to talk about. So let's get started.
Let's do it.
All right. So our first couple is Virginia and Eric.
Yes.
Who I think had somewhat of a breakthrough. But also, it's showing us another side of Eric that has come out in flashes, but is starting to become more pronounced. But let's start with the breakthrough, and that is talking about vulnerable issues.
And being vulnerable.
Right. Allowing themselves to be vulnerable with each other.
Right.
You know, Virginia said that often they have kind of pushed serious issues to the back burner because they're
conversations.
Right. They're enjoying each other. They want to stay happy. They want to stay feeling good. Right. And when you talk about issues that make you vulnerable, then that's not necessarily a good feeling.
Yeah, everybody loves the honeymoon phase.
Right.
But reality sets in.
And the reality is that if you're going to build a long-lasting relationship, then you have to open up about those vulnerable issues. True. So we now know why Eric is such a stickler for her not having a lot of guy friends that he doesn't know about because he's been cheated on in every relationship he's been in.
Yeah.
That would be a trigger.
Yeah. And I'm sure, maybe not realizing it, but, whatever the relationship was, I'm sure his work environment kind of made it easy to occur, and it's unfortunate, but, it created trust issues in him.
You mean the frequency with which
exactly.
he has to leave.
Exactly.
Right. So, that's hard, and it's definitely baggage that you can't leave behind.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is what it is, and if something's happened often enough, you tend to almost internalize certain things, and you wonder what's wrong with yourself, and those insecurities, once they do set in, you guard against it ever happening again by whatever means necessary. And in this case, it's a marriage situation, it's not a dating situation, but those same trust issues nevertheless still present themselves. And so it's a fear of his.
Yeah. Now, you did make a good point when we were watching the show that her two guy friends that he actually met, he's cool with.
Right.
So, when she was asking, if I was, talking to an ex-boyfriend on social media
right.
and, would there be a problem? And he's like, yeah. If you have a past history.
And you're looking at his picture and you like his picture, that's a problem.
And again, that's talk coming from a place of insecurity.
Right.
And I feel, because we've had that happen. When we first got on Facebook and I found a past boyfriend, and we started.
I was going to say you can't find them today, but
that's okay. We started talking, on Facebook, but I told you about it, And I would have to say that, because you don't have insecurity issues, that it wasn't an issue for you.
Yeah, and it's not a confident thing that, you wouldn't cheat on me or anything like that. But I have to trust you in our relationship. Trust is critical.
Mm-hmm.
And if at any point in time I cannot feel like I trust you, then I have a problem with our relationship. And even if it's something that's just within me, it's still a problem, because that is, to me, the foundation of any relationship.
And yet, if you did have a problem, then because you are my priority, I would have to respect that and honor that.
Right.
Without question, until if there is such a time that gets resolved and you feel okay, and it's not like, and again, there are boundaries. You're not, on social media with him all hours of the night, with a lot of frequency.
Yeah, talking about things that we should be talking about.
Yeah, so, and it shouldn't be that, and it hasn't been that. It has been just like, anybody else, you see something, you respond, hey, that was nice. And, that person should also be responding to the spouse.
True.
Because we talked about that before, that friends of the individual, when you become a couple, should be friends of the spouse.
Right. If the initial friend intends for them to remain friends, then they become friends of the couple.
Right. Even platonically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
even only.
No, because sometimes you can become really good friends with exes, or you can become really good friends with exes.
She can't though. No.
He knows what I'm talking about. So anyway,
I mean, certain bones you just won't ever find. That's all. Right? That's all I'm saying.
So now the one thing though that I'm starting to have a problem with Eric, when they're talking about sensitive subjects, his penchant for saying,
"I'm through.
No, I'm done.
I'm done.
If she wants to such and such, I'm done.
I'm done.
Okay, and I'm done with Eric using that as a threat.
I just think, and we had a discussion beforehand, but I think that Eric, in his manner of communication, is incomplete in how he expresses what he feels. Just like he said initially, if I find that you have, friendships with guys, I'm done. What he was saying, because
what you believe he meant.
Well, only because it has presented itself. If you have guy friends that I don't know about, and I do not understand, or I can't relate, or I don't get to know who those individuals are, then that's a problem.
But are you done?
Well,
therein is my issue.
Well, see,
are you done?
But why wouldn't, if this is a concern for me, why would you not make sure that I get to know who they are?
Okay, I'm with you with all of that.
But that's what I'm talking about.
Are you done?
If it doesn't happen?
Yeah.
If you know that's how I feel and you haven't made moves toward making sure that I'm secure with that?
So that's using this as a threat kind of a thing.
Well, I look at it as a lack of complete communication, because if she would have known, just like it ended up being, she invited the guys over to the house. Mm-hmm. If she would have known from the beginning that, if he would have explained it that way, guys that you have as friends, I need to know who they are. Just so that I can feel comfortable when you happen to say that you're going out with so-and-so and so-and-so, and they have history that I don't have. Mm-hmm. And yes, now we're married. And again, I have my preconceived notions of what guys are all about because I'm a guy and I know what guys do and I know how guys feel. I know how guys think. I'm one of them. So again, if I've expressed that to you, then I would hope that you would want to make me feel comfortable if that person is that much of a friend and you have that.
If you express that to me.
Well, and that's why I say his manner of communication has been limited.
Well, in the book that we often refer to, Becoming a Professional Lover, we use tips out of here when they fit the situation. Our tip number 24 says, motivate resolutions by never making divorce an option.
He didn't say he was going to be divorced. He said
I'm done suggests that he will not be there anymore.
He's done.
So,
didn't mean divorce.
That would mean that you can't motivate resolutions if you keep holding divorce over someone's head as a threat.
No, true. I mean, ultimatums and threats are not part of any relationship.
And so that's really my point. And Eric is very comfortable going right to that end as a resolution for when she doesn't do what he thinks that she should be doing. Or when they don't, align the way he thinks they should be aligning. And that's not treating marriage as a commitment. That's treating marriage like, if I don't get my way, or if you don't see it how I see it, or if you don't do it the way I think you should do it, I'm done. Stop it, Eric. Okay? Because that is not how you
communicate.
And that's not how you treat a committed relationship.
True. No.
And he has some rigidity, and we're finding out in a lot of areas that we didn't really see on camera before.
Well, that's his older way of...
Older way or his way, conservative,
but if
military, whatever the case is.
Maybe. But again, if you've experienced more and you have a tendency to understand things a little differently, or just in the manner that if
you're just used to being a little rigid about your way.
Well, there's nothing. He is rigid. I mean, that's his mother. His parents are. They're. They were born in a Christian home, and things were done a certain way, and there's a natural order of things.
Well, we're talking about Eric. His family's Christian too. Maybe I forgot about that. Not Ryan. Eric. The pilot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember his mother? Yeah.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, she was definitely. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get it.
You think that might be in the DNA? Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. But I like the fact that they have started talking about their vulnerable issues.
And they've even done it in a way in which they've allowed each other to just express it with no interruptions. Even if it gets a little weird with a time clock. But, you have a time frame in which you express what you want to express with no interruptions. Just get it out there and then discuss it.
And they also display how much your environment and what you've been exposed to and what it growing up and all of that plays a huge part
impacts in who you are today.
Right. And what you bring to the table. And so Virginia talking about, her parents fighting and all of that and how what she experienced as part of that then, colors her thought about having kids because she doesn't want to put them through that.
Yeah.
And then also the statement she made, and I don't know if it was when they were going out, like scenes from next week, when she talked about, and she doesn't see couples being into each other forever, like that kind of peters out.
Yeah.
Because that's all and he looked at her like, what? Because that's all she's known.
No, yeah. That there's an end.
That there's an end.
Any good thing. Right.
That after a while you just kind of get tired, or it's not, new anymore. It's not fun anymore.
Time's up. Move on.
Yeah. So just even that, they really are gonna have to She has to see a different side. She has to know that there's something different available.
Yeah. Well,
and she doesn't know that yet.
Well, I believe she's seeing it for the simple fact that that's a situation that keeps coming up, that he's not, he's not resisting.
Mm-hmm.
He's not saying, well, if you can't believe that this is going to work, then what are we doing it for? I mean,
right.
He's never gone there.
Yeah.
So, and he's often tried to show her that he's in, even with things that he's not comfortable with.
Right.
He's in.
All right. We've spent half the time just talking about them. Mm-hmm. So Brianna and Vincent, they didn't have a whole lot, to do in tonight's episode. But he said, or Viviana said, right. What you said last week about why he gets so sensitive with, respect and how he looks. And that was just, he's been trying to impress.
Exactly.
And when he doesn't feel like he's impressing Brianna, then he gets upset.
Well, yeah.
So at least he apologized tonight for his behavior last week.
And Viviana explained that perfection is not achievable.
Right.
A relationship, a marriage, is always a work in progress. So if you're working at something, that means you're trying to improve upon it, and it's not about becoming perfect, but having at least a perfect effort.
Right. And I liked how Brianna affirmed him and his quirks that she likes.
Yeah, exactly.
I like your quirks, she said.
Otherwise she'd be
Stop
bored.
Trying to impress. I'm already impressed. You don't have to, just be yourself.
Talk that stuff, girl.
And I hope that, he really got that message.
I think he did.
Yeah. So, Paige and Chris. I don't know. Maybe y'all like us talking about Paige and Chris because the episode where we talked a lot about them got like a lot more views.
A whole lot more views than recently.
So I'm like, maybe we need to, but okay, Paige is still trying. And when Viviana asked her, why are you still in this marriage? She said, because I believe God wants me to be the woman of God who will support, right? Who is a supportive wife.
Regardless of how supportive you may be, you can't carry the relationship.
Right.
And even in this situation, there was a situation that he suggested having a Bible study. He came prepared to eat chicken.
Right.
Now, everybody eats chicken, but this was your idea, and you come unprepared for it. To me, and again, this is
He's asking her to carry everything.
Exactly.
When she said, when Viviana asked her, what do you want? And she said, just, the basic. Let's just communicate. How often? Once a day? Call once a day or text once a day? That was too much. That was too much for him.
Pressure?
That was too much for him. I can't commit to talking every day. Or texting or reaching out every day.
We're married. You can't talk to me every day?
What do you want to do, Chris? I was thinking about hanging out, going out,
dinner.
Which is more involved than just texting me, hey, how you doing? Hope your day's going well, Chris.
Hey.
Once again, Chris wants everything his way, his time, convenient for him, and does not want to make a commitment.
When they were putting down, when she got her pen and paper, when Paige got her pen and paper and said, well, okay, whatever days there were of the week, what are we going to be doing here? And, first off, the earliest you can touch base with me is 8:00 at night. I'm a guy. 8:00 at night? That's en route to going to bed. That's the normal order of things. And the activity, if I'm not mistaken, now I could be wrong, his activity, he said action. That was his word, action.
He needs action.
I'm like,
And it kills me when he tries to bring God into everything, because his entire behavior has not been godly. If you don't even, if you can't even think about blessing your food. Now, I'm not sure, I'm not going to be judgmental. Maybe everybody's spiritual household or godly household is not the same. And even though you're very Christian and very in the church, you didn't bless your food every time you ate. But he always seems surprised when she asks, "You're not going to bless the food?" Oh, yeah, okay.
No, you bless the food.
You bless the food. Like, you didn't learn how to pray over your food? And as a Christian, growing up in a very spiritual household, you didn't learn how to do that? I'm just saying. He talks a lot of God and Bible and Christian, but it doesn't translate into his thought process or his behavior. It's just in his speech.
And talk is cheap. And he's expressed exactly how cheap talk is.
So I'm not sure what Paige feels like she's supporting as a wife, because he's not being a husband. And then, of course, he ends the night giving her the news that he's bought his ex-fiance a brand new car. Why? Because she's carrying a king or queen of his, and they need a chariot. What?
It would have been nice if that would have even been one of the discussions that he could have called her about and let her know beforehand.
But I feel like, as my wife, I should tell you after it's done.
Hey, thanks.
Okay, so I don't know, Paige. You see yourself as being a supportive wife, and I kind of see you as being a little codependent.
Interesting.
That's just my take right now.
That's
All
the
right.
behavior.
So, Clara and Ryan. Wow. A couple of revelations here when it comes to sexual intimacy. Predominantly sexual intercourse. So, apparently they've been doing a lot of sexual things other than intercourse, and she's getting very frustrated. And she, other than sex has been a huge part of her relationship prior, even though the 3-year relationship, they didn't have a lot of sex. I thought at first that her frustration was that she was feeling unwanted, undesired.
Right.
And we know that, especially for a female, you want to feel desired by your husband. And part of that is him initiating, sexual intimacy. So I thought that at first that was her main problem. And Ryan, we discovered holds sex up here.
Yeah.
Now, coming from a spiritual, faith-based background, I understand how Ryan is seeing sexual intimacy. It's the Bible puts sexual intimacy as the main way to create an emotional bond, to cement an emotional bond between a couple. Right? On the other hand, we discover that Clara only sees sex as a physical activity, which is a very non-biblical, non-faith-based way of
that's
viewing
even,
sex.
but that's even more. That's a polar opposite, because she indicated that she never had that type of
sexual relationship. It has never been connected to emotion.
Yeah.
And wow, that's, even, not necessarily faith-based people understand the emotional connection
but you
to
have,
sex.
but I think everybody does at some point.
But this is what is so kind of mind blowing about her, that she says, I have never had an emotional connection to sex.
And that,
even in a 3-year relationship, even in long-term relationships.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how to think that way. Wow. No wonder they're on opposite ends of the spectrum.
True. And well, and there was one thing that we had discussed prior to Viviana bringing it up as a question.
Right. You had the question.
She asked Ryan to leave the room for a minute. And I was thinking about it. I was like, maybe this boy ain't never had none before. I mean, you know, and it's such a heightened experience that, you know, he has a preconceived notion of what it's all about because he's never actually experienced it before.
And so you did ask, I'm wondering if he's a virgin.
Is he a virgin?
And then Viviana came on and said, do you think maybe he was not honest about whether or not he's a virgin? So, hey, kudos to you. But then you're a guy, so you would kind of think that way.
Psychology.
You did.
Yeah.
So we don't know the answer, but I tend to think that the problem is more about the fact that they view sex very differently, and it's there's such a huge divide between how they see it that's the main issue.
Yeah.
And I don't know, how they're going to bridge that.
Well, actually, I think there's so much room on both ends that, they will both, I think, amend their overall view.
I hope so, because there's nothing worse than sexual frustration.
Yeah.
And even though sex is not the be all that ends all, it is an important part of a committed relationship.
True.
And you have to give it its just due. So hopefully they'll work that out.
Yeah.
Eventually. And she did say, patience is not her strong suit, but you have to have patience.
Yeah. Well, that's critical in any relationship.
It's critical in any relationship. And now Haley and Jacob is our last relationship. So they've been talking and having better days, which means no arguing, than before. But they don't give each other really anything. Yeah. He has no personality, and she's doing what Viviana pointed out from her questionnaire
interview
that she does anyway, which is pick guys apart.
Yeah.
And when they were talking with Viviana, she did say Jacob has done everything that she has asked. And so the lack of connection is really on her.
Yeah.
And I had to ask, we talked about it, I said, are you supposed to have chemistry with everybody you meet? I have, when I was single, there were guys who I wanted to be friends with, but I didn't have any kind of chemistry with them to consider going beyond just a friendship, whether they had that with me or not. If I didn't feel that type of connection, then I wasn't going to force it. Unfortunately, they're married, Jacob and Haley, so they're in a different space, environment. But I understand from that perspective. And yet, we saw, if you've been watching Married at First Sight since season 1, you saw Jamie and Doug go through that. She had no attraction to him physically whatsoever.
Down.
She cried.
On wedding day.
She cried. And he gave her the space she needed. Even though at one point he got frustrated as well. But she grew into love with him and wanting to give that effect. So I don't know if the difference is, how she was able to keep an open mind with it, And Haley does not seem to be able to keep an open mind. She's shut off, and he feels no hope. Now, you and I had a little discussion about when Viviana was asking them to act in ways that you would want a husband and wife to act, to kiss each other hello in the morning, kiss each other good night. And he asked her, are you going to feel comfortable with that? And you had a problem with him asking that question.
Well, only because it's already been offered as a potential plan of action. All you have to do is agree to it.
Which you didn't, by the way, but anyway.
But when you ask about something that you're already working on, and you know that it's everything, all effort is a contention right now. Why verbalize it? I mean, why go into it? I mean, a kiss, it can start off with a little peck. I mean, literally.
But I think he knew that that's not what she wants to do. So it's almost like you saw it as bringing negativity into it, and I saw it as him wanting to confirm, is this going to be okay with you? Because they've been sleeping in separate bedrooms.
Yeah, no, and at least they were willing to, and baby steps. I mean, for the simple fact that they were on the same bed.
But you said, too, in our off-camera discussion, that you felt like it was also a question of no hope on his part. Yeah, and I'm like, she hasn't given him any. She's given him no hope.
I mean, they have both been, they've flipped. I mean, they should have headaches from flopping back and forth.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, it's not like it hasn't been effort, but it hasn't been a full-throated effort.
No.
But I'm thinking of just the openness, I guess, is not on either side.
No, they have both kind of shut down.
Yeah.
And they're both being at that stage of being shut down and somewhat checked out, because Jacob doesn't feel like she's going to give him any openness, any encouragement.
Yeah.
And she doesn't feel any connection to give him any encouragement. So. And
Jacob said it a couple of sessions ago when he said that, right now he felt checked out when he felt he was being ignored, but he stepped back into it, and he was concerned about the fact that if he started putting his effort back into it, that she may ultimately, by the time it's all said and done, feel checked out, and it
which
end
she
up
kind
being
of
a
is.
timing thing. Yeah.
Which she kind of is. So I don't know that this is an impasse that they'll be able to really conquer.
Yeah.
And so we'll see. We'll see what checks out next week.
Yes.
At the next episode. So we'll be here to talk about it. We hope that you will as well. Like us, share us, and we'll see you next week. Until then, stay safe and peace.
Enjoy.